full-scale war is happening in Ukraine right now. Russia is bombing civilians, houses, central squares, even maternity homes. No Ukrainian has met the Russian military without resistance. This is the podcast UA, The Day That We Survived. Ukrainian journalists have come together with ordinary people to create this project. We asked people to record themselves and tell about their day and their emotions, regardless of the content. On the first day of spring, Russia has bombed Kharkiv's central square, the city situated near the border with Russia. It is symbolic that the square where the urban administration is located is called of freedom. 2 people were killed. Valery Nijadaila, who lives in Kharkiv, tells us about the shelling.
Guys, in short, right here in the neighboring yard, a shell exploded. So that you understand, this is such a small narrow courtyard, and there are 2 or 3 such funnels in the courtyard. All the cars are broken, all the windows are broken, in short. Everything is in pieces. The snail moves from above. It seems like it's a cluster rocket that drops bombs. Understood? It's so fucked up. It's good that all people who live in these houses are sitting in the basements and everything is okay. And by the way, funnels like, you see, they are small. There is not even a projectile. Most likely everything that breaks off turns into splinters.
It is also not calm in other cities. The enemy is approaching from the south and the north. Fierce fights are breaking out in the east of Ukraine. Anastasia, from the temporarily occupied by Russian forces city, Melitopol, sent us her recording. This city is situated in the south of Ukraine, near the Azov Sea. Anastasia is scared. She is recording from the bomb shelter. The city has problems with mobile communications and food.
Hello, my name is Anastasia. I'm from Melitopol, but I'm in shelter right now. My city is totally occupied by Russian soldiers, Russian military officers, Russian special forces. I think that we are in a humanitarian catastrophe right now, because for 5 days alone we do not have any light, any heat, any water. And for now we have very weak connections, very weak internet, and I have the possibility to record this message for the rest of the world. My husband, my family, we are all in danger, and I beg the rest of the world to help us, please. Do something with Russians on our lands. Now they're bombing our houses, our civil houses, our civil buildings like hospitals. We do not have any possibility to use hospital because Russians occupied it at all, and they don't give permission to cure civil people because they do have they do have many injured soldiers, and our Ukrainian doctors should treat Russian soldiers. That's unfair. Our children do not have any food. Our animals are dying right now. They're bombing, they're shooting civil citizens, they shoot in any car in our streets. If you go out, they will shoot you. So now we're all in shelters. And we are scared. We are very scared because there are so many scary sounds inside. So I do not have any idea what we should do tomorrow, what we will eat tomorrow, and I think that our city will be totally destroyed because they destroy everything on their way. There are so many marauders.
Evelina lives in Lysychansk. This city was occupied by the so-called Luhansk People's Republic back in 2015. They are a group of separatists who occupied a part of Ukrainian territory. However, the Ukrainian military managed to take Lysychansk back by force later that year. Alas, the city is under fire again. Evelina tells us what is happening right now.
My family is in Lysychansk. There are many people there. We hope this occupation won't last long and Russian troops won't come here. We spent most of the time in the basement. It's cold and raw here. Shortly after fights in the morning, on March 1st, the lights were turned off. I've reached the energy company on Messenger. Within an hour, it was restored. I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm at home with my child. He has a cold. My mother and father are elderly people. They can't leave the city. My father doesn't even go down to the basement because it's hard for him. He's always at home. We try to get out to buy some bread. It's possible to do so. Sometimes there are problems. Sometimes shops are closed. But if we run between the shellings, we can buy it. There is no problem with that. The water supply system works. Everything operates in the city. Many thanks for this to the city. It makes me warm that our army is here. They are close. There are many of them, and it is great. Glory to Ukraine. The scariest thing is the lack of truthful information. We do not know what is happening in the surrounding villages. The Severodonetsk tells what is happening there. But we don't know anything about other places. We know that our relatives in Starobilsk saw Russian tanks and troops. In the village near Starobilsk, it's scary. Only a few people know what's going on. Fakes are spreading very fast. That's why I ignore most of the information.
In the morning of the 24th of February, a first round of negotiations between Ukraine and Russia took place on the border between Ukraine and Belarus. As soon as the sides spotted, the Russian military continued shelling Ukrainian territory en masse. Kyiv, Brovary, Bila Tserkva and Vasilkiv have suffered from missile attacks. Missile alerts have become a commonplace reality throughout all regions of our country. People are tired, scared, and have difficulty talking. Ola from Dnipro tells us about her morning. She has heard the sirens twice in the last couple of hours. She fell ill. It is difficult for her to hold back her emotions.
I'm Ola from Dnipro. Today is Tuesday, the 1st of March and the 6th day of the Russian invasion. We had 2 air alarms before yesterday night and 2 today for now morning. I had nightmares this night, but I have had rest too. Now I'm sick and I can't volunteer and make support for my city and for my country. But 2 days ago, I sent 179 hryvnias for our army. It was the last money on my card, but I am very proud of this action. I'm proud of our armed forces. I am proud of the Ukrainians, and I know, not believe, but I know that we will win, because it's our land, our space, and our sky. Glory to Ukraine. Go to fuck yourself, Russian warship. Иди нахуй, русский корабль.
While the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, claims that Belarus will not take part in Russia's war against Ukraine, Belarusian military is already crossing the border on the north of Ukraine. They have been spotted here, not for the first time. Ukraine is fighting in all strategic directions. President Zelensky applying for Ukrainians' accession to the European Union has become a landmark event. The president of the EU Parliament claimed that she supports granting Ukraine the status of EU entry candidate.
We are here today in the dark shadow cast by Putin's war. A war we did not provoke, a war we did not start. An outrageous invasion of a sovereign, independent state. On behalf of the European Parliament, I condemn the Russian military aggression against Ukraine in the strongest possible terms and express my solidarity with all those suffering and all those killed.
Switzerland took an unprecedented step by abolishing its neutral status to join in EU's sanctions against Russia's leaders, Putin, Mishustin and Lavrov, as well as sending help to Ukraine. Oksana has left the annexed Crimea. She's living in Lviv right now, and she wants to go back home and to not to be afraid.
My name is Oksana Avramenko. There was plenty of anxiety in the first days of war. I live alone, and I was quite scared. My life has too much Russian Federation in it. I have been an internally displaced person for 8 years now. In 2014, Russia occupied my motherland, the Crimea. Since then, I can see my parents once a year. I haven't seen my mom in the last 2 years. So talking to them as much as possible was very important for me in these anxious days. When I spoke to my grandmother yesterday, who hides in her bathroom in Severodonetsk every time the shelling of our army positions intensifies, I realized that my situation is not that dangerous to let fear get a hold of me. My grandma and I agreed to call each other every day, in the morning and in the evening. She barely slept last night. Shelling was too intense. She wanted to nap in the morning, but it didn't recede. So I decided to forget about fear. The whole village of unarmed people comes forward against all tanks and APCs. It's so inspiring and makes me think that we shouldn't be afraid. We should be ready. I remembered yesterday about 12 glass bottles laying around at my home, and I have found some styrofoam in the box from my sewing machine. If these people are so fearless, there is no way I'll let somebody take my home from me again.
There is a new proposal for Russians that willingly surrender, full amnesty and 5 million rubles. This is around 40,000 euro, which has been funded by the leaders of the IT industry. Enerhatom informs that Russian occupants are subjected to considerable amounts of both external and internal radiation exposure in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. We remind you that Russians have taken over the nuclear power plant and are holding its personnel hostage. This is what Ruslan Stefanchuk, the head of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, says about the situation.
Окупанти своїми діями можуть спричинити екологічну і техногенну катастрофу. Вони вели бій на території об'єкту укриття. Збройні сили України героїчно чинять опір ворогу. Український народ об'єднався навколо захисту батьківщини.
Hundreds of Ukrainians, both civilians and soldiers, have died. A couple thousand wives and mothers will never see Russian soldiers alive ever again, who, as alleged by the Russian propaganda, went to save Ukraine from Nazis. Russia's war against Ukraine has been going on just for a couple of days, but the world will not be the same anymore.